Hey everybody, in our earlier class we covered all of the different tools that you would need in the various presentation softwares to create your presentation and get it running, and now we're just going to cover the tools that you need on presentation day. So that's a different set of tools. It does, as you found out, take a lot more work to create and set up your PowerPoint, but once you get to actually presenting it, that's a little bit more simple. So this shouldn't take very long at all. We're going to start with PowerPoint, and the only tab that you really need for actually presenting is slideshow. View is something that people tend to think that's where they would find it, but it's not. It's actually just in slideshow. So remember, we talked about these other tools earlier and how you can use them to create your design and to insert images and charts and graphs, all those wonderful things. Transitions were between slides. Animations were cool things you could do to the text within a slide. It's important to take a look back at the one that you created earlier in the week, or earlier in the class rather, and see if it followed the guidelines of the good PowerPoints, and see if you were using too many of them, or if it was violating some of those rules, because that kind of gives you an idea of where you were going. But for right now, we're just going to look at how you actually present the slideshow, and it's got two different areas here, and I would think that they're backwards a little bit, because this section is setup and this is start slideshow, and really you need to set up before you start it. But I think because people are always just looking to set up or to start right away, they tend to look all the way to the left. But we're going to start over here, because you want to understand what these things do. There is an option here to hide your slide, and that, although it would seem like it's not particularly effective and that's not something you'd want to do, but if there's something that you know you're not going to cover every single slide for every session, you can go ahead and click hide slide, and then when you go to your full presentation it won't even show up. So that can be, somewhat helpful as well. I don't want to get to setup yet. One of the things that you can do here is rehearse your timings, and it will actually start a full slideshow, and you can just do what I'm doing now, basically. Just kind of run through it, talk through it, discuss your various points. If you click on it here, and hopefully it won't mess up our recording, but what it's doing is it will go ahead and record what you're talking about and the movements that you're making, and then when you're done, you can go ahead and either pause it if you need a minute to figure things out. You can go ahead and move to the next one. It says the total time was 14 seconds. Do you want to keep it? When you view the slideshow, and what's nice about this is if you decide that you want to just practice and see how it's working, when you go through that whole process, it records the amount of time that you spend on each slide, and if you want to set that to actually move the slide then at that time, if you think that you're not going to stray far from a script, that's fantastic, because then you don't have to set that up again. It just did it for you. But if you think that that's not really going to work for you, then you might want to just stay away from it. I would warn you that if you finish before the slide has advanced, you can move your keys forward to the next slide. If it cuts you off, you can move back during your presentation. I do want you guys to practice that while we're in class. But that is something that will, for some people, keep you on track. For me, that would be a lifesaver, because I tend to go off on tangents and random things, and so I kind of need something to help me stay on track. And so that's a very, very valuable tool. You can actually record your slideshow from the very beginning. So I'm using a screencasting software right now. I'm using Camtasia because I can do so many other things with it. I can edit it, I can add video, I can do all kinds of cool stuff. If you don't have all that, and you just want to record what you're doing in the slideshow, save it and let your students listen to it. It's a huge file. That's the first thing I'll warn you about. It is a big, big file once you start recording your audio. But what it does is it lets you record all of that. You can either, I didn't usually email it to my students. I think I sent through like SendSpace or something. I'd have to find another party because the file was so big. But if you can find a way to house it so they can access a large file, then they can hear your voice and you can run through your presentation. It's great for reviewing tests and things like that. It's just fantastic. So that can be really, really helpful. If you decide you don't want to play your narrations, use your timings, show your media control, you can click all of that stuff off. I will go ahead and show you set up slideshow now, because, and this is really cool. This is where Microsoft has done an excellent job. That's probably why it's so successful in business, is that it has a setup here of the different show types. So it assumes that it's being presented by a speaker, you're going to have a full screen view, but if you have it browsed by an individual at a window or browsed at a kiosk in a full screen, you can put it in different modes so that it looks really good in any one of those versions. So that's really great. If you are showing it at a kiosk or at an exhibit hall or something like that, or you have a group of faculty that are all together, they're all learning from each other, and they're going to go around and browse and see what other people are doing. This is a loop continuous, so when you click on there, it will run through the slides based on the timings that you set up, and then it will just start over again, and it'll just keep looping and looping until you say no and you hit escape and you're done. So that's a really, really, really great tool. If you only want to show certain slides, you can do that. If you want to set up a custom show, you want to do it, and I could see that as being useful for different audiences at different times. If you want to make those adjustments, you can. If you want to show a laser pointer, you can have different pointer colors here. You can show it on multiple monitors. It gives you different displays. It can get really, really fancy. But for the most part, the looping is what a lot of people want to know about, is how can I keep it just continuously going. So if I'm talking to small groups of people, I can just let it go. And that's a really good way to do that. Once you're ready to actually present, remember you can go ahead and click from the beginning here, or you can hit from your current slide. And again, if you have a custom slideshow set up, Broadcast does allow you to link it to the web, but there are a lot of other things you have to have set up in order to make that work, so I wouldn't worry too much about that right now. But you can click on the very beginning, and then you can see that this screen shows up. And in order to advance it, I can mouse click it, I can hit my space bar like I just did, I can move my arrows back and forth. When you're done, it says this is the end, click to exit it, you go and click it, and then you can get back. Super easy. Because most people have done this before, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time explaining how that works, since you guys have probably done it before. But if you haven't, you have some time to practice today. Okay. Your other option is Google Presenter. And we talked about this, the sort of the random file that I put in here. This one does not have all of the robust bells and whistles sort of things that you will see on PowerPoint. It doesn't have it built in. Now if you use another screencasting software like Jing, or you added an Audacity file, or there are lots of add-ons that you can do. You can customize Google for what you want. You just have to have technical knowledge in some other areas. It's not all one-stop shopping like you're going to find in Microsoft. So here, if I go into there, and this is what's tricky about it, is Microsoft makes you go through a tab in order to find it. You had to know slideshow was there in order to figure out that that's how you present. But Google does try to make it very simple. They try to make everything simple, and they've got just this button right up here that says Start Presentation. You can actually find it in the tabs here too, but it's just a lot easier to just go right here. Now when you see drop down, you know that there are other choices, so we'll go ahead and click on that and know that you can start it at your current slide if you want to do that too. It's defaulted to start at the very beginning, but if you want to start just in the slide you're working in, you can do that. And so since I only have one slide, that's all it's going to be here. So I can go ahead and you can see that it gives you a little toolbar, down here in the bottom. If you actually recorded things, you can play them there. You can advance to your next slide that way. You can jump ahead to different slides here, so that's kind of nice. You can view it in full screen view. You can knock it back down. So lots and lots of different things that you can do depending on what your purpose and your goal is. If you click on the options here, it gives you an option to open the editor, to download, to do all kinds of different things. So just know that those are your options there. Okay. Now, when I hit escape to get out, I did want to point out that there's one area here, and I glossed over it when I saw it in the options, because what you can do is start it with your speaker notes, and this is a really great view. You can see a couple things here. First of all, you can see your presentation has started, and yet it's there, but there's another window here that has your speaker notes, and it gives you can sort of jump ahead to the slides. It starts keeping track of the time for you, so if you want to kind of be aware of that and you want to think about it, It helps to keep you sort of on track. If I had notes, they would all show up right here in this blank screen. Here's the problem. You can't project this. You can't project this part only if it's connected to your computer. Okay. Once you do that, then they can see the speaker notes. They can see, everything else that's going on here. So this is really designed a lot more for if you're doing an online collaboration and everybody can see the screen. Then seeing the speaker notes on your own is really valuable. But otherwise, it's not for regular in-class live presentations. That's not really going to do you a whole lot of good. So just kind of be aware of it. It's one of the criticisms of this particular software. So just know that that's a possibility as well. All right, our only other option, and I didn't want to open it while I was in here because Camtasia can be really, really fickle, and I didn't want to lose the recording or mess up the audio. Hopefully the audio isn't already messed up. But I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple of the tools in Smart Notebook too. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because you need to see it on the board. You need to see how you pick up the pen and how you orient the board and all those things. But I do want you to at least be a little bit familiar with where you're going to find these things on the toolbar. Please remember from the last time that this is Smart Notebook 11, which looks slightly different from some of the older versions. It did change the view just a little bit, and so when you open it up, you're going to see all of the same options. They're just grouped slightly in slightly different ways. So just recognize that when you open any new version of any software, I've said it before, but it probably bears repeating, that they don't take away functionality, okay, unless it was really defective and it didn't work at all. But if there was a tool that you really, really liked in an old version and then you see that it's missing in the new one, it's not missing. It's just, they just reordered it, they put it somewhere different, okay? So all you got to do is just kind of hunt around for it a little bit. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to get Smart Notebook opened up, but it may be competing with the recording software, and so I'm just not going to worry about it right now. Just know that when we get into class that we'll go ahead and talk about magic pen use and how you can erase very effectively. And be sure to revisit that tips and tricks video if you haven't seen that already. Make sure that you see that because that really talks about the actual presentation tools that you can use as well. That's it.